We're going to be using Card Creator Basic Set A and Basic Set B. We're also going to be using the new Delights, which two of my favorite are the Medallion 2 and the Fancy Flourish 2. We're also going to be using the Bitty Blossoms, the medium flower here. But I want to show you how to do some paper weaving. And this is what paper weaving looks like. It's basically taking different strips of paper and weaving them like into basket weave or different designs. And what I use to create this particular piece is my Card Creator Set B die number 3, which is this one right here. And then I use the smallest little rectangle in the Basic Set B as well. And I have cut a bunch of strips of paper. You don't need to emboss them. And then you need one of the actual black pieces of the size that you need, which is this one here, number 3 in Card Creator Basic Set B. Here's all of our strips here. Okay, so we're going to use permanent adhesive and start out that way. Make sure they're all really close. And when you get it built far enough, then it's just as simple, because you've got your first piece, then you just run these in and out and just slide it up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take your piece of paper, flip it over. Now, of course, with this, my piece is a little bit smaller than what my design is here, but you can actually just stick this down and then figure out where you want this to lay on your piece. And then I just take my die and I run it back through like this, and then it'll cut and it looks like this when it's finished. I'm going to start with a black A2 card front, and then I'm using Card Creator, the largest one, and then we're going to use a piece of our pattern paper here. This is from the Medallion 2 set, and it's this die right here, this piece. And what I've done is I've cut 2 of them, and this is a really neat die because you actually get 3 different pieces, so you can cut a lot of different designs using the 3 pieces. But I wanted to show you a couple different tips. First of all, I never cut these intricate dies without placing wax paper between my die and my cardstock, because you saw how easy that came out, but if you didn't use it, it'd be really hard to remove. So now I want 2 of these, and you can see that I figured out that if you overlap these, you can make a really pretty background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right here, and I'm going to do it here as well, right at the corner of that flower. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And by placing them together in here, now how I adhere mine like that is I use an acrylic block, and I use the Scotch quick dry adhesive, and I just lay a pile of the quick dry adhesive down, and then I use just a paintbrush. And this one is the Perfect Pearls brush, as a matter of fact. I go to the back side and I just brush this, and it's just easier for me. This glue dries clear. And then I just usually pat it with a paper towel. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. And that really is a quick dry adhesive. It's one of my favorite adhesives to work with. And that gives you a little frame here. And we're going to stick one more layer down here. And then we're going to stick this layer down, and I'm actually going to pot dot it. And then we're going to stick this down in the middle here. The piece that we created earlier, we're going to set, and that's going to be our backdrop for that. And it fits right in all four of these corners, and you can't really tell that you put that together, but it just makes a really pretty medallion for the back of that little centerpiece here. And then I've cut in the green another one of the Card Creator dies. And then I've cut one more smaller piece that we're going to stamp and do for our design here. I would like to add one of the bitty blossoms that I created, and I want to show you how easy these are to work with. And then I'm also going to add the Fantastic Flourish 2 for my corner accent on my card. And I'm going to poke this out of here. Again, you'll see that I've used the wax paper to aid in getting this out. And this time what I want to do is I just want to take these little leaves. So I'm going to cut right here, and I'm going to cut right here. And then something else that I figured out in working with this is you actually can take this off, cut this little leaf right here, just kind of round this down, do the same thing here. And if you snip this little spot here and this little spot here, and then you do the same thing on this side, you can actually use that over the corner, and it fits right into the corner of your card. So hopefully you can see that from there. And then I'm going to glue my pieces, my leaf pieces, on the same way that I glued my background of Medallion 2. And then here is one of the little bitty blossom roses, and I want to show you how to make that. This one I did not use wax paper in. It does tend to come out pretty easy. And this is actually a smaller form of one of the larger blossoms. So once you watch this, you can make the larger ones doing the same thing. I'm using the McGill mat, but you can use a mouse pad or anything that has cushion to it. And then I like the bigger ball on the McGill tools, but this is the petal roller from Imaginis, and that has one also, so you can do either way. And then what I do is I go to the back side. and I just take this and push on the center of each one of the flowers. So when I roll it the other way, the flower actually, the petal goes to the outside. So now I've got this, and you can do one of two things. You can take and roll it by hand, or on the end of this petal roller is a little slot, and you actually can just roll it with that. Makes it a lot quicker. When you get to the end, then you want to do one of two things. Either hot glue this, or I will use the Scotch quick dry adhesive, but I really like to do the other just because it's a lot faster. And then you have this little point right here, and what you want to do is take that and glue it, and that's what your rose sits on. So we'll push it down like that. And if I would have used hot glue, of course, it would have been all done. Now you can let this unroll a little bit for a little bit larger blossom, or you can keep it nice and tight, whichever you prefer. If you let it unroll a little bit, you can see how it just kind of shapes itself. That's my favorite way to do it. And then you can place that also on your card. So I'm going to glue this here. I'm going to be using just the little memento dewdrops. I actually use the big pads, but just for space and that, I'm using the small ones. And I am going to use the finger daubers and 2 of the stamps for my stamp set. And what I want to do is I want to use the end of these, but my die is wider, so I'm going to stamp them separate and mask so I don't get it on the other. So I'm just going to stick this down. I'm going to place it because I can see it's clear where it's going to go. I'm going to stamp that down. And then I'm going to turn it the other way. And I'm going to put my mask back down again. And there I have the 2 accents at each end. We're going to stick the little saying on the block and get that stamped in the middle. You can take a stipple brush and just take it into your pad and then just brush the outside edges. That will give it just a tiny bit of color. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the bright pink. And of course you can use your daubers to get the very edge a little bit darker. And then we can either pop dot or we can glue this on. And then these are just a couple pearls that I actually colored with some Copic markers. Take this, and then you can add your little bling right here to the center there and to the center there. And I love it that you can color pearls to match your project.